I want to say thank you. That is a great movie. I don't think I've ever seen such a movie with so many friends and colleagues and enemies at one time. It's pretty amazing. I'm going to talk very briefly, just a couple of minutes, and then your questions will bring out the real issues. There's a lot to tell you about that's going on in Maryland, that's going on nationally. Some national stories recently will really scare you about this upcoming election. But let me just tell you that True Vote began in 2003, shortly after a researcher up at Johns Hopkins here, Avi Rubin, was able to get some source code for Diebold off of the internet from Bev Harris. And he looked at that source code and examined it and found all sorts of flaws and security leaks and problems and put out a report that scared us. At the time, I was working on other issues, anti-war issues, civil liberties issues, environmental issues, and so were some other friends of ours. And we got together in a living room and decided we had to do something about it. And so we started True Vote. And 5 years later, we won the battle in Annapolis and got rid of Diebold voting machines. But it's a shame it took 5 years, and it's actually not done yet. The transition does not occur till 2010, and there's no audit provision, so we can have paper ballots that are counted in optical scan machines, but the optical scan machines are computers also, and they've been known to make mistakes. And so you have to have an audit provision where the random audit is done with each election. And we don't have that yet in Maryland, so that's still a battle to fight. We have now paper ballots, but no guarantee they'll ever be counted. And so we still have to fight that battle. The reason we lost the audit provision, it was about half the length of our bill when we got it introduced, but the head of the Board of Elections in Maryland, Linda Lamone, who is sadly still the head of the Board of Elections and is a Democrat who brought us these machines, she's still in there. She got those audit provisions taken out. And so we need to battle to get that back. And we fought on a number of fronts. We fought in the legislature, we fought with the executive branch, we fought in the courts. In fact, we still have a court case going on. Linda Shade, who was the key person in True Vote, and she's here right now, Linda Shade, was one of our lead plaintiffs, along with three elected officials, and suing Linda Lamone. So it's the Linda versus Linda suit. And it's still existing because the suit's going to continue until we make this transition. It's our one way to try to have some influence over that process. And I'm going to have Linda pass around sign-up sheets so you can get on our mailing list. There's also some outside, as was mentioned, at the DVD table, and I hope you will buy those DVDs and share them with people. But sign up and get involved. We're still working not only in Maryland, but also nationally. We've started a website called truevote.us, which provides you with all the up-to-date information on what's going on nationally on this issue. And I can tell you, we have even more work to do nationally. We've made some progress. In that this year, the percentage of people who will be voting on touchscreen machines is down to 36%. It was up as high as 44% in 2006. We've made some progress in getting rid of these touchscreen machines. And for the first time, we'll be voting majority on paper in the United States. There'll be paper records for a majority of voters for the first time. So we're making progress. But I can tell you in Congress, the people that members of Congress are listening to are not us. They're listening to the electronic voting machine corporations, the vendors who sell the machines, and their allies, the people who run the elections. And why are they allies? Because it's so nice for Linda Lamone to call Diebold up and say, we have an election coming up, can you run it for me? And that's what they do. They do a soup to nuts running of the election, from start to finish, not only the machines, but training people, bringing in technicians, every step of the way. Plus, what these elected officials love, these officials love that there's no possibility of a recount. They fear recounts. For some reason, they think a recount makes them look bad if it shows an inaccurate vote. I've been involved in recounts in other states, in New Hampshire, for example, where they have a paper ballot-based system. It actually makes the system something that people have more confidence in. It makes a system where you can go to that recount, watch those ballots be counted, and if you lose the election by 5 votes, you walk away knowing you lost the election. That's how it should be. The loser should know that he or she actually lost the election. You can't do that. And we've had some serious races in Maryland, by the way. The first year that the election machines were used in Maryland, 2002, the Speaker of the House, Cass Taylor, lost a surprise election in Western Maryland by less than 100 votes. Then he went to do a recount and discovered there is no real recount. All they do is push the button, and the software puts out again the same information. Push the button, get the same information. And so we lost in Western Maryland. We don't know whether or not that the Speaker of the House actually lost that election or not. No way to know. There's no record to know. And so we want to see in Maryland and nationally paper-based voting where there's a requirement of a random audit of a percentage of the votes in every election so we know whether or not those machines are accurate. And in order to make an audit effective, there are basically three things that are needed. First, transparency. You need to be able to see every step of the count. There's no reason to exclude the media, the public, the people running for office, the political parties from any part of the vote count. It should be open and transparent from start to finish. Second, it needs to be independent oversight. Somebody else, a second view, has to be there to watch it. And third, the percentage of the audit needs to be flexible. There's a different amount of recount audit needed for a race that's decided by a 10% difference versus a 1% difference in order to make sure those machines are accurate. So that's the next step that we want to see nationally and in Maryland is an audit recount. As I said, there are a lot of scary stories going on throughout the country right now. And a lot of the scary stories you saw on the screen about other parts of the country happened in Maryland as well. You know that guy in California, for example, who discovered uncertified machines being used in California? Well, in our lawsuit, we discovered uncertified machines were used in Maryland as well. What happened? Nothing. Linda Lamone covered it up. She told me that everything was fine. Certification makes no difference. And Diebold didn't get any punishment for using uncertified software in our elections. With impact, we have no idea. Thank you for that kind of leadership from Linda Lamone. And I'll just say one more example of something happening in Maryland that no one else has heard about unless you're heavily involved in this issue. And I want to tell you, there are true voters in the room here. It took thousands of people to make this change in Maryland. Several thousand people got involved in True Vote. We had some great funders, a couple of Baltimore-based foundations, the Zanville and Isabel Krieger Foundation, the Fund for Change were very loyal to us and very supportive. We really appreciate their support. In fact, some of the leaders actually were volunteers in True Vote. And it took thousands of people to make that kind of change. I'll just tell you one thing that happened in Maryland that didn't get much reporting. And this was in 2004. There was Baltimore County, questions happened in their vote totals. In fact, for 5 months, machines in Maryland got put on lockdown because they couldn't figure out what went wrong. What happened? Why did the vote count go all screwed up? And in fact, when they started with their first count to when they corrected the count, there was a 22,000 vote difference. Never discussed in the media. Linda Lamone said everything was fine, no problem. Not even discussed. We have documents from the litigation to show that this happened. And yet, here we are. As I said, there's stories around the country in the last few months that will make you very nervous about this upcoming election. There are things that we can do. And I think I'll stop there and then I'll take your questions. There's so much to say about this. I can go on for 45 minutes. So there's two websites. TrueVoteMD.org is the Maryland one, and TrueVote.us is the national one.